Okay, so what page we want to look at right now is the Piecewise Applications notes, the ones that say notes, and we've got more word problems. These ones might be a little bit easier than quadratic because the formulas are less intense, but they're still really cool. So what I love about Piecewise is that they're secretly part of a lot more things than we realize. And they don't only apply to projectiles, they'll apply to all kinds of situations. So when we look at our first example, we're seeing here that as an employee at FedEx, Ross earns $25 per hour paid weekly, but earns time and a half for overtime, which is more than 40 hours per week. That's very standard. Every person that's paid hourly is subject to this same piecewise function, except they will have a different percent or dollars that they're earned per hour. But everyone gets time and a half for overtime. So that's pretty cool. His weekly paycheck is modeled by the following piecewise equation. So looking at this, we're calling it R of X because it's Ross's paycheck. And X is the amount of hours that he's working. And here, this 25X, remind your neighbor what that represents. And when does he earn the $25 a week? Well, it says right here, when the X is between 0 and 40. So what is meant by the X? Just that the hours that he works. So more than 0 hours, but less than or equal to 40. So exactly 40 at the most. The next part says 37.5. Tell your neighbor where 37.5 came from. Okay, so hopefully you guys knew 37 is 25 plus half of 25. 1.5 times the salary. You guys got that? Okay, so then this time and a half only applies to the amount over $40. So X minus $40, X minus 40. We're talking about the amount over 40 hours. So 41 hours, there would just be 1 hour of overtime. But then it still has the plus 1,000. So it has the plus 1,000 there because $1,000 is what would be earned if he had exactly 40 hours at the previous rate. So of course you only want to plug the X value into one equation. So we plug it into this one equation and it calculates the total value, which is pretty cool. So let's practice using it. So if Ross works for 37 hours per week, what is his pay? Well, that's less than 40. So we're going to use the top equation, 25 times 37. See, these are way easier than the quadratic functions. Again, we're still going to need a calculator on these because I don't know the number for that. Cool. And table 2, what did you guys get? 925 per week. That's pretty good. That's good. Now, what if Ross works 50 hours per week? Well, then that's above 40. So then we're going to use the other equation. So I'm going to do 37.5. And it's mental math for me to do 50 minus 40. I hope it's mental math for you. 10. And then plus 1,000. So then timesing by 10, I just move the decimal place over once and I get 1,375. So for 10 extra hours, his paycheck is almost 50% more, which is pretty good. Good increase. And then for the last part, it says, how many hours must Ross work in order to earn $1,500 per week? Well, this is not an X value. We're trying to find out the number of hours. We have the number of dollars. So when we think of which equation to use, I see the plus 1,000 in this equation, which means I have to use this one. I can't use the previous equation because 1,000 is less than 1,500. So if it was plus a number that was larger than 1,500, I wouldn't use that equation, but I'm going to use that second one. So that's going to say 1,500 is equal to 37.5 times x minus 40 plus 1,000. And then I'm just going to solve for x. I'm going to subtract 1,000. I'm going to divide by 37.5. And then finally, I would add 40. All of that I would do with my calculator. Plug it in, see if you and your neighbor get the same answer. How many hours does he have to work? So we know that it's going to be more than 40 hours because 40 hours is $1,000. Grace. Step one is subtract 1,000. Step one, subtract 1,000. Step two, divide by 37.5. Step three, add 40. Okay, table 3. Did you guys get a number that you agree upon? $53.3. 53 hours. And if I have 0.3, it's 0.3 repeating that you got in your calculator, right? Yeah. That represents 1/3. Do you guys know 1/3 of an hour? 20. That's right. Ross must work for 53 hours and 20 minutes because it's easier for you to think of minutes, but 53.3 repeating is the correct answer. That's a lot of hours. Is that most of the hours in a week? No. Still a lot of hours. Okay, do you guys need help to solve that one? We're good? All right. Question number 2 is talking about taxes. Oh, students' favorites. So in a certain country, income tax is assessed by using this function where T of X is the total amount of tax that must be paid and X is the amount of income. Great. So let's understand it. Tell your neighbor how much you have to pay if you earn $15,000 or less. Okay. If you earn more than $30,000, how much do you have to pay in taxes? So this tax bracket is actually going to work the same way that the United States tax brackets work. You pay 12% on the money between $15,000 and $30,000. And then you're going to pay this much is going to come from the 12% at the lower rate for that first $30,000. Okay, so if your income is 28,000, what amount of tax will you pay? So the equation here, it says it's 12%, and it's going to be 12% of the whole thing. It doesn't have the X minus 15,000. So that means it's just going to be 28,000 on the whole amount. And that sucks because that's times 0.12. And you're going to get your answer there. So it's not exactly like ours. Ours, you would pay $0 on the first 15,000. So this is 3360. You guys get 3360? Okay, so that seems like a lot of money. I wonder how much that is per month. So if I divide this by 12, I see that that's 280 per month. And if you get 2 paychecks a month, that's only $140 every paycheck, which is what they do. They just take your money every paycheck, which is great. You don't have to think about it. If your income is 14,500, how much do you pay in that case? I like this one. This one's easy. $0. And then here we've got part C. Your income last year was 25,000, but your friend was 32,000. How much more did your friend pay in taxes than you? We're just going to run the numbers for both of these. So 25,000, we need to figure out how much that person owed. So that's 0.12 times 25,000. And that's 3,000 altogether. And then we got 3,200. So now I'm running the income for the taxes for the friend. And I get 3960. So this one, it's really easy for me to tell how much more my friend paid since they both start with a 3,000. And so my friend paid $960 more in taxes than I did, but made $7,000 more. So very fun. Questions on 1 and 2 so far? Okay. Let's take a look at, for me, it's the back side, right? So for creating piecewise models, we're gonna need to figure out what it says. We're gonna write the equations. All right, let's take a look. So this is like a big looking word problem. I see lots of words. So I want to make sure that I read it and I don't miss anything that matters. So it says holders of credit cards issued by banks, department stores, oil companies, and so on receive bills. Nope, they issue bills. What? Holders of credit cards. Okay, so that's like somebody who has a credit card. I see. So you're going to get a bill that says your minimum amount that must be paid by a certain due date. The minimum due depends on the total amount owed. For one such credit card company, uses the following rules. Okay, so the rules are about to begin. For a bill less than $10, the entire amount is owed. Okay, so that's one full sentence. That's going to be one equation. So when X, right, the amount of money that's owed is less than how much? Well, it said less than $10. So if the amount is less than $10, then I have to pay the total bill. So what letter is going to represent the total bill? What does it say? We'll use for the total bill? X. That's it. That was an easy equation. Next, it says for a bill of at least 10, but less than 100. So that sounds like the inequalities to me. So 10 is on the left, 100 is on the right. But I don't like it like that. We'll do it the correct way with the proper notation in this side. So for this situation, it says what? It says the minimum due is $10. Oh, okay. So it doesn't say anything about the total bill except for the inequalities. It says you've just got to pay 10 bucks. Okay, next for a bill of at least 100, but less than 1,000. So from 100 to 1,000, it says 10% of the total bill is due. How do we write 10% in math? 0.10. And then of the total bill, so 0.10x. So I just did the 10%, okay. And then for all bills $1,000 or more, so 1,000 is less, so x is greater than 1,000. And it's, I think it's less than like this. Then it says 15% of the total bill is due, so I'm going to say 0.15. So my equations so far are all good. All my equations are good. I'm just going to need to put these in proper inequality notation. Yes, Grace. Yes, I didn't put the x. Thank you. I totally thought I already did that. Thank you. So I've got x, I've got 10, I've got 0.10x, and I've got 0.15x because it was of the total bill. Now I want to be really careful about writing these inequalities. The first one is x is less than 10. But then the next one says for a bill of at least 10, but less than 100. So I've got the 10. I'm going to put less than or equal to x. And then I'm going to put less than 100. Because it said less than 100, I don't want to underline that inequality. So the next part says for a bill of at least 100. So that means $100 or more. So I underline the 100. X is in the middle. And then it says, but less than 1,000. So again, less than, not underlined. And then for the last one, it says 1,000 or more. So X is going to be greater than or equal to 1,000. Because that would say the 1,000 is the bill, or $1,000.02. So here it says, what is f of 45? Write your solution as a point and interpret that point, giving context of the problem. Okay. So I know that it's going to be 45, comma, the amount due. I just need to find how much. So I'm looking at my equations over here. 45 is in this range. It's between 10 and 100. And the output then would just be 10. So in this context, I say when my bill is $45 total, my minimum payment is $10. Now, if I was giving you advice, my advice would be to always pay off your credit card bill in full every month. But this is not a financial advice class, so do whatever you want. Next, what does it say that is going on next? Okay, so for number 4, it says, what would the minimum payments be on these different bills? Okay, so I'm going to erase the stuff that's not relevant. I'm just keeping my equation so I can see it. You guys can already see yours. So for 417 is between 100 and 1,000. So I'm going to use the 0.10x. And hopefully for you guys doing that 0.10, you just move the decimal place over once. When I do this calculation, all that happens is I go like this. So it's 4170. So we love 10% because that's all that it does. Move the decimal place over once. No matter what the number is. But if my bill is 3,000, that's not going to be the same work. That's the 0.15 because that's above 1,000. So in that case, I'm going to do 0.15, 7 times by 0.15 in my calculator. That one is not as easy to do in my head because it's 3,468. Which is just not an easy number to work with. So 0.15. I got 520.2, 520 and 20 cents. So very cool. Question 5 asks me a different question. They don't want to know the minimum payment. I want to know what was the total bill. These are the minimum payments. So these are the Y values. I need to find the X values. So 75, I'm hoping that that goes in this one here. I know that it's obviously not 10 and it's not going to be X because it's 75. So looking at that, I'm going to say 75 is equal to 0.10x. So when I divide by 0.10, that's actually just going to times it by 10. So adding 1 decimal place over to this, that's going to be 750. Checking that 750 is between 100 and 1,000. Yes, it is. So 750. Are we good there? So then looking at the 243, well, 10% of 1,000 is 100, and this is more than that. So I'm going to need to use the bottom equation for this. So I'm just going to set this equal to 0.15x, and then I'm going to divide by 0.15. It's going to have the same result. It's going to make the number bigger, but I think I'm actually timesing by 15. Let's see. Not quite. I got 1620. Did you also get 1620? Yeah. When you divide by a decimal, it makes the number bigger. And then our final question is explain why there cannot be a minimum payment of 125. Okay. So I'm going to do the last two groups. Can I scroll down at all? Using my mouse. Yes, I can. Okay. Okay, so for 10% group, the largest like balance that you could have there is 999.99. Agree? That's the number less than 1,000. And when I move the decimal place over once there, I get 99.999, which that's actually 100, right? They're going to round that up to 100 for you because it's 99.999. So they're going to round that up to 100. You guys agree? So then if I do the 0.15x, the 15%, that starts with $1,000. And 15% of $1,000 yep, just like I thought, is $150. So there's just no instance where 125 would be the fee because that 1 penny difference, and you actually have to pay $50 more. And like I said before, you should just pay off the total if you wanted to take some advice, but you do not have to. That's the cool thing about credit cards, I guess. All right, so now we're going to switch into our Desmos. So you're going to get out your Chromebook and you're going to go to student.desmos.com and you're going to get to learn about